Well, I'm trying to document all the provincial coinage from the time of Valerian, which is 253 AD, through its death under Diocletian in 296. Though that's not quite as big as it sounds, because only Egypt goes on after about 276. But there's plenty of stuff.
How many?
I've incorporated about 30,000 coins from the various collections.
I've been thinking a lot about money lately. We'd all like to have just a little bit more. So I thought I'd look up someone who knows a lot about the history of money. He works at the Yale Art Gallery, and he's one of the leading authorities on the coins of ancient Rome.
Coming off their eye with the pampa.
Bill Metcalf is the curator of the museum's Department of Coins and Metals. He works there with his assistant, Jane Miller.
It's not. No, I don't think it is. I think we put it away. Okay.
He also has a group of meticulous student aides. Bill brought me to the department's newly renovated classroom for a guided tour of the coins of the ancient world. He thought I might see something inspiring for my next book, which is about the deep legal foundations of individualism. We saw a lot of beautiful coins, but one in particular caught my eye. The coin was from the ancient kingdom of Lydia in present-day Turkey. During the 6th and 7th centuries BC, at the start of what the German philosopher Karl Jaspers called the Axial Age, something extraordinary happened in China, India, Persia, and Asia Minor. Independently in all of those places, people created a new technology, the coin. And probably the first coin, produced in the 7th century BC, was created in Lydia.
The tradition began here. This is actually, is that the one? It is. It's in a plastic container because otherwise it would slip through the crack in the box, but we can take it out if you like. This side is a simple punch mark.
Yes.
And that's there to indicate that the thing is pure throughout. This side is just a series of striations. And the way it was created was like this. A blob of metal, in this case weighing 0.65 grams, was laid onto a flat surface. It assumed its natural roundness.
Yes.
And it was then punched, and it picked up from the surface these striations. At the Temple of Artemis at Ephesus, where we learn much of what we know about the earliest ancient coins, there are 3 phases represented. There are unmarked pieces like this. There are those with striations, and then those with images, what numismatists call types. And they must have developed in fairly rapid succession as individuals or states, and we can't identify any of the images with a particular state at this time. It saw fit to put some badge of authority on these things. These are not gold, they are electrum, which is a naturally occurring alloy of gold and silver found in the Pactolus River in Asia Minor. And they simply extracted it, rendered it molten, cast it to the appropriate weight, and struck it. If we put these two together, you can see that they're quite a different color. And that reflects the purity of the gold that's in them. In general, the paler the coin, the greater the silver content. So that not all coins conforming to an individual denomination are intrinsically equal in value, but they're guaranteed to be. Sardis was under Persian control at this time, and it was actually the Persians who made the great innovation, attributed to Croesus, of creating two separate denominations of gold and of silver. And that solved the electrum problem permanently. These are the two, and you see a lion confronting a bull here,
Oh yes, look at that.
and here the same motif.
Oh,
but in
look at
silver.
that.
The lion is the Persian king, and the bull is Europe.
This was all a fascinating story, but what did it mean? Now, Bill is an empirical kind of guy, the kind of person who would patiently catalog 30,000 coins. But I asked him to reflect a little more broadly about what we had seen. I was especially interested in knowing what kind of life these early coins made possible, as well as their role in the early history of state development. I also wondered what new forms of life, new forms of money being created today would make possible.
Silver, it was argued many years ago, was a great democratizing influence because it made it possible to break up huge amounts of money into relatively small units that spread the influence among a larger population who had access to it that they wouldn't have had with these gold coins. Because no matter how small they seem to us, they carried a great deal of value in them. And that's got partly the explanation for the tiny, tiny denominations we see. So I can't think of it as the first glimmer of state development. It may represent this moment in economic development where it was necessary to move beyond barter in order to render the movement of goods more efficient, and or indeed payment of taxes. So that, and I think that's certainly behind the markings. Markings we don't recognize yet, but it's perfectly consistent with any of the tyrannies of the period, that they should choose a mark and demand payment in it. They issue a coin for things they wish to purchase, and in the later periods, this is almost always associated with military development, and then demand back, and as their pound of flesh, the same sort of currency. It won't be the same piece, but it will conform to the same standard, bear the same marks, and thus be certified without the need for assaying each object.
Today there's a movement to develop transnational non-state currency,
Yes.
the Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
Do you collect Bitcoins?
No, I don't. And never seen one. Aren't they electronic anyway?
Are we then, with the development of the Bitcoin, at a turning point in the historical process that began with a coin like that?
Well, I think that's true. Coins have moved from being the manifestation of an economic system to the lowest component in functioning economic systems. The thing that's useful for a parking meter, in quantity, I might add, and won't even buy your newspapers anymore, or a decent-sized candy bar. So, and yet, there's no chance the United States is going to abandon the cent anytime soon, even though they do this unprecedented thing and lose money on its production. A lot of numismatists live a long time.
What accounts for that?
I have no idea. A sense of mission, chronic asceticism, which you can observe in my sunken cheekbones. It's, I don't know, clean loo.
You can learn a lot from Lydia.
Let me hold you right there. I just want to make sure that we're good. Excellent.